Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Nazir daf Nun Hey. We're going to begin on the very top of Nun Hey Amud Aleph Lema Ketanoi. So we were discussing, based on our mission in the previous daf, that when it comes to a person who goes to Chutz La'aretz, Eretz Ha'amim, that is a situation where there is a tumah. However, we don't say that if a person is a Nazir, if he goes out, that he will have to count all over. We don't say it's Seiser. However, he will have to be Mazah Shlishi and Shvi. He will be sprinkled on the 3rd and 7th days. So, on this, the Gemara wondered, is the reason why we are geyser against going into this land outside of Eretz Yisrael, is it because of Gusha, because of a Gezerah of the earth, and there's an issue that potentially there may be a kever or from the mabul in that earth, and therefore in that situation you would only be an issue if you would touch the earth, the clods of earth. But if you would go b'shedativ and migdal, if you would go through some type of box, then that wouldn't be a problem. You would be able to go through there and you're not going to become tameh. But if we say that it's matama ba'avir, even with the air, so there we'll say it doesn't matter if you touch the earth, you're still going to become tameh, even in a box. Now this is a tremendous chiddush because we don't say this when it comes to a mace. However, as Taisa said, we are extra strict when it comes to leaving Eretz Yisrael, because the Chachamim wanted to make sure that people did not leave Eretz Yisrael. So on this, the Gemara continues. Nun Hamad Aleph Lema Ketanoi. Let's say whether or not it's because of Gusha or because of Avir is actually a machlokas among Tanoim. It says as follows: Hanichnas Eretz Ha'amim. So you have this person who did exactly what we're saying. He entered outside of Eretz Yisrael. He left Eretz Yisrael, but he went b'shed teva migdal. He was in a box. He was contained. So Rabbi Matam, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda Matahir. Why? My love, Rabbi who says he's tamei savar mishum avira, and therefore he's tamei because he's still breathing the air of Eretz Ha'amim. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda savar mishum gusha, and because he's not actually touching the earth, so therefore the fact is he's in a box, so he's okay. So that's one possibility. And this is going to be question 11, TA 30, TB 1, that there's 3 other potential tirutzim. It's not necessarily a machlokas tanaim. Look, the kuliyam mishum gusha. Maybe they all hold the whole issue is dafka by you touching the earth. So then, what's the whole problem going into a shade of teva migdal? You're not touching the earth. So mar savar oil zark shmei oil, mar savar lo shmei oil. Now, if you're in an ohel, a stationary ohel tent, so that will cause a chatzitza between you and the mace. And therefore, because there's this airspace and you're in this ohel, which is not moving, so that will make you certainly tahar. But over here, we're talking about a tent or an ohel, which is zarik. It's movable. And because it's in the process of moving, it's not stationary, maybe that is the machlokas, whether or not we say the din is that it will have the ability to cause a chatzitza. So really, the whole issue is because of gusha, but still the problem is that you're coming in contact almost like directly on the earth, because there's nothing separating you from the earth, because this ohel is not an ohel. So that's one possible answer. V'iboy seima. Alternatively, the Gemara can say another pshat. Oh, 1 second. So Marsava oil zark shmei oil, Marsava lo shmei oil. So Marsava sanya, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, he says as follows, that a teva. So Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said it's tahar, right? So he also says regarding a teva shahaya malaya kalim, which is filled with vessels, v'zark, and you physically throw the kalim, in which means it's moving. And it's not just station. It's not just that it's moving, but it's moving by itself. Al pnei hames ba'oil tameya, because this is considered to be an oil zyrik, and it's not considered to be an oil as it is moving on its own. However, if it's stationary, then it's tahar. So we see clearly that according to the shita of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, he holds that an oil, it's an oil since it's only not an oil if it's moving on its own. But if someone else is, let's say, carrying it, itaka is an oil. So it's not necessarily the case that the reason why he says it's tahar is because he holds an oil zark is shmei oil. Because in this situation, it says that if it's moving, then it's tameya. It's only because someone is carrying it would it be tahar. So when it comes to gezeres chachamim, they're only going to do it when it's something in which is a normal circumstance. So they're going to be geyser because something can happen. However, when it comes to a person going in a box, that's something which is not shliach. So therefore, maybe the chachamim will not be geyser in that situation if you go in a box, and therefore we say you're still tahar. Or we say no. Even when it comes to milsal shliach, the Rabban will be geyser. V'osanya, as we learned, hanichnas l'eretz ha'amim b'shedet b'migdal. A person goes in outside in chutz la'aretz in a box, tahar. So that person is tahar because it's not shliach. However, b'karan masvina u'viskarya tameh. However, if you would go in all these normal modes of transportation, a wagon, a boat, a carriage, so all these different ways are normal ways of traveling. Viskarya is like a smina gedayla, sheshba iskaraya, v'karya lehachi, shem iskarya sheba. Okay. Anyway, it's a larger boat. Anyway, so in that situation, because that is a normal mode of transportation, that is a milsa, which is shchiach, and the Rabban will be geyser in that situation. So we see that it's possible to make that type of distinction when it comes to a milsa l'shchicha. Maybe the chachamim will not be geyser, and therefore shedet v'migdal, the din is that it will you'll still be tahar. V'bois ema hachashemi yotzer rosh v'ruba l'sham pligi. The whole question is, are we as scared that you may end up sticking your head and the majority of your body outside of that box? Says the Mafarish, oil. It's really an oil, so therefore the truth is, if you stay in that box, you're safe. But v'hai de kamatama, the reason why we say he's tame, even though, why is he tame? He's in a box, he's safe, and it's an oil. Rav Yosef is not geyser. For Sanya, and we learn as a proof to this, Rav Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Hanechnas Eretz Ha'amim b'Sheidat Migdal. If you go in this box, which is usually closed, tar ad sheyotz l'shem l'sham roisho rubo. Only, of course, if you do stick your head out and the majority of your body. But if you don't do it, we're not going to be geyser. Okay, so look at the Mafarish. V'had detani Rav Yosef Rabbi Yehuda le'el zark teva malei kalim. When we said that you threw vessels al pnei mace tameya la mishum deksaver oil zark lav shmei oil. The reason why he says it's tamei, those kalim, is not because he holds an oil, a portable or moving oil is not an oil. El kivan de zarka, since you physically threw it, kamapikla metaris oil, it's no longer considered to be an oil. Meshavuli teris kli, it's considered like a vessel. Lamksaver oil zark shmei oil. So the act of throwing something creates it's like a new entity. Okay. Let's just see if there's any more in this Tais. Okay, Tais is similar. All right, weiter. So then the Gemara says, Umaskil moina. So when it comes to someone who is a mitzaira, so he said, look in the Mafar in Taisus, Kishit nithar. When you become tahar from your tsaras, moina l'makam shem hifsik, you can continue from where you left off, mitchilas sarasai, from the beginning of your tsaras. In other words, you can count where you left off. Diamet tsaraso will all minion. But the days of tsaras do not count toward your main nazirus. So amrav chistolushon el nazirus muetas. The only time we say it doesn't count is dafka if we're dealing with is nazirus muetas, where there's a short amount of days, and it's because of a practicality. Masar shaves his head 2 times, and he has to do this after the Meisvira, after his counting. So he's going to need 30 days in between, as we'll see in Taisus. So just as a practicality, as we've seen before, it's necessary that your hair has to be considered grown in order for you to be able to have shaved it. So therefore, since you have to wait, if it's muetes, so it doesn't count because it's a practicality, because you need 30 days. However, the 30 day, if let's say it's a longer Nazirus, then the days will count toward the Nazirus. So a Nazir is talking about, again, a Nazir becomes a Mitzayra in the middle of his term. Do these days of Tumah count? So that's the distinction. It doesn't count when it comes to a Nazirus Muetes. Well, now let's see Taisus. So Taisus says, the days of counting and the days of completion do not count. The Nazirus El and Nazirus Muetes Shalam Yoim. If it's 30 days is what we're talking about. Benitzra Benatayim. And you got Saras in between those 30 days. You're a Nazir for 30 days, and you've got Saras after 15 days. And after you're healed from your Saras, says Taisus, Vigilach, and you shave, after it's completed. After the counting, you shave again. You're not going to be able to shave at the end of 30 from the beginning of the Nazirus. As we said, it has to be at least for 30 days. Your hair has to grow back. And you have to start counting 30 days from the time that you're healed and counting. However, says Taisus of Nazirus Maruba, another kolkach yomim, that you made a long Nazirus, that you are a neder so many days, she'ach yemei sarasai, ikalam yoim, achar shegilach. There will be 30 days left after you've shaved, to galachas shenis, your second shaving, with sarasai, for having saras, the shaber ika, kedei gidol seir misal namisal kale. So it will count toward Yemei Nazirus, because you're still going to have another 30 days for your hair to be able to grow back. So it's really just a practical situation. Whether or not these days will count is only in a situation where you still have 30 days left. So it says that you can begin counting immediately on day 7. The ein mavatal behen as a kaidman, and it doesn't cancel out the days before. But if we're talking about that's just a 30-day Nazirus, kiboy gidol seir. What do you mean? That can't be what it's talking about, because as we said, you still need gidol seir. You need those 30 days as we continue to a short nun hamid base. Elolav, it must be talking about Nazirus Maruba. We're talking about a situation where it was a very long Nazirus you accepted upon yourself. A katani, maslo miyad, but nonetheless it still says you can begin counting right away. So we see clearly the din is, even in the situation where it's Nazirus Maruba, the din is the same. Says the Mefarsh, the day that you're standing, umashlim lo'oisin yomim shalifni chalutai. So the days of Tsaras, apparently, so the question is, they do not count toward the days of Nazirus, but we're maybe saying that Taka, it should. So, but Nazirus bas chamishim yoim. Our mission is talking about a Nazirus of 50 days, the Yosef Esrin. And so far, you went through 20 days of the Nazirus and you have 30 left. V'siyal debate saras, and then all of a sudden you develop saras. Megalech sarasai, so you shave because of the saras. B'hada yosef tlasin yaimin the nazir. Then you wait 30 more days to complete your nazirus. Da isle gidol seir, because after those 30 days, then you have the gidol seir. So there needs to be 30 days of nazirus left. Then obviously the saras days don't count. Then because otherwise you won't have 30 days after for your hair to grow. But if you count the days of Saras and still have 30 days left, then the days of Saras will count to Adkan.